Hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be having a look at Cardano. Before we jump into the price action, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you're enjoying the content, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave some feedback down below. Also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it is free to join. Once you're in the general chat area, just mention a member of staff and we'll be happy to help you out with anything you may need. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff here. So there is a few ways of counting this move, and potentially it could complete back here, in which case what we'd be looking for is effectively the possibility of having a flat correction here. And since we came up into this point, this has been a possibility, and what we'd want to see is a five-wave structure to play out to the downside here, if this is the case. What we'd be looking for potentially as a target zone here for the C wave would be it's been pretty much met, to be honest with you. But this 1.618 would actually take us back down into this range of this 3462. Also, another way that we can potentially look for this target zone is actually coming off the completion of this five-wave move. So we can see that would also put us into this 236. So this could be an interesting area if we are looking to come back down into this area. Alternatively, this could look to extend out a bit and potentially come back down to this 382, which would be this previous fourth wave area here. So this is still something that I'm keeping an eye out on. Potentially, we could be looking, if we are looking for this bullish standpoint where we're looking for this potential to break to the upside, this 382 could be quite an interesting zone if we do continue to progress to the downside. So that's something we need to just keep an eye on as we come through here. So basically, this is the one way. We can also argue that what we have here is counted slightly different, where this becomes a 1, 2, this becomes a 3, 4, and effectively then we could argue that we have a diagonal pattern into the end here. Sorry, I've actually moved that too far forward. So we'd actually pull this back further here. And then effectively what we could have here is that this makes up the wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we have a diagonal pattern within the structure. So effectively, this is something that is possible, and we need to just bear this in mind that we could argue that actually our five-wave move completes here, in which case we'll be looking for this deeper retracement. So the zone we'd be typically looking for a B-wave retracement would actually be much lower. So this target range is slightly different here. I would have to switch over to the other option here to get the targets. Uh, so that B wave retracement would typically be down here towards this 3147 to this 2588. I do also have this other box up here. So basically what we're talking about previously is the fact that, we need to be careful with this one because this could be a couple of things, like I said. And if we can also argue that we split it up like this, in which case this would actually just be an A, a B, and a C for the most part. In which case we could actually be looking to break down for that continuation of that fifth wave that we've been talking about in that extending diagonal, which could potentially push to lower down than it would have to, if it is an expanding diagonal, we'd have to look at this going past this 2248 for it to comply, though it could become quite a lot bigger than that. So we'd have to basically see what structure develops here. But if we do start to develop bigger five-wave structure to the downside here, this could be what is going on here. And then basically we're looking to form that bigger five zigzag to the downside to complete a diagonal. So this is something that we need to just keep an eye on within the structures here. It is possible we could be looking to start this bigger drop here, though we need more indication of it, and we'll go over that in a second. So the other thing that we need to talk about here is the potential that if we are subdividing this like this, where we have a three-wave move, we can also argue that coming back into this zone could set us up for a potentially bigger move to the upside, where this could then potentially become an additional one, and we're coming back for wave two here. So this is it's quite an interesting zone that we're in. If we do manage to find support in this box area, and then we start to progress up quite rapidly from this point, then it would be indicating this. Though we would only really get, it depends how deep we've come. We've already come to that 50%. But if we did have to have a move to the upside here, let me just get right on this high point, we could argue that we'd have to move up above 57 cent for this to become valid. And then what this would be looking at, the only reason I don't really like this is we'd have a very small wave 2 here. So if we're going to count this as a diagonal here, then I would prefer to do it as a fifth and then looking for this deeper retracement to the downside. That would be ideal, but basically we're going to have to just monitor this and see how we progress. If we do actually move down past this 3063, it would invalidate the possibility of this extending out from this point, though this can drop all the way potentially to this 3212 and still be a valid wave 2 if we're looking for that potential to push to the upside out of the back, off the back of this. And basically, what we'd be looking for then is confirmation by looking to move up towards that 1618. So this is just something that is possible within the wave structure that we currently have. So if we are looking at the fact that we could be completed into this high point, we have a couple of possibilities. So like we talked about, there's a possibility we can have a flat from back here, which would indicate that we're pushing down in a C wave, which we'd want to see as a 5-wave move. So we don't have a 5-wave move currently. All we have is 3-wave structure, but it has the potential to break down into one. So for the most part, this is what I'm currently looking out for. The problem is within this structure is we do have a little bit of an overlap here, and there is potential that we could actually have extension within these waves themselves. The fourth wave area that we'd be typically looking for is over here, and that would be looking for this zone here of this 3720 as a 50% retracement. If we do move above this 3774, then we would have to, in this move would become invalidated. But for as long as we stay below this zone, I am still looking out for the possibility that we could start to have a decline here in an additional structure, and looking for this as a potential fifth wave still to come. So the way we'd have to count this move, if we're looking at this in this manner, is effectively that we'd be looking for this to be potentially from here flat with another flat as a B. So it would be A, B, and then looking for this to complete as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potentially. And then what we'd be looking for is that rejection. And we'd want to see 5-wave structure start to play out here. We wouldn't really want to go too much higher than this zone here. And because of the fact that we do have potential to go higher than that, I will show you a breakout scenario as well. So make sure you stay tuned for the more bullish side of it. But effectively, even if this does come up past this wave 1 here, we could then just argue that we just have an A, B, and a C into this low point. In which case, my next area I'd be looking out for would be this 38.35 to this 40 cent range. If we do move up into this area, what I would be looking for is how exactly we form this structure. Like I said, there is potential to form some 5-wave structure here, and we'll talk about that. But otherwise, what we could just form is a move like this, where we come up as an A, we come back into this zone, find support for a B, and look to push back up higher for a C wave. So this could still look to push up a little bit before looking for this rejection, but really we wouldn't want to break this B wave high here of this 40.36 or this 41.36 at the top end of this. Otherwise, by that stage, obviously we'd have more structure, but then it would be indicating to me that we have a 5-wave move that potentially is going to start to play out to the upside. So we just need to give it a bit of space and see how this progresses. But this does have potential to extend here within these smaller micro counts. They're not as reliable as doing the higher time frame counting, so we need to give them a little bit of we need to take some of it with a pinch of salt, basically, because we are sort of assuming things until they prove themselves. But basically, if we do actually move up into this rejection zone here, there is still potential. If we move up as high as this 0.618, then we could still potentially look for this 3303 as a 1-to-1 here. If, however, we do break down one more time from this point for this fifth wave here, this would be the target zone we'd be looking for, this 34.93 to this 34.26. So this could be then an area we look to actually break into and then look for that retracement from that point. If we do move down into this zone, once again, we'd be looking to see whether we face rejection in this area. This target zone would change slightly, but the idea would be the same. If we only form the 3-wave structure to the upside, then it could indicate that we are actually still making our way to the downside. So there is still potential for some extension, like I said, within these waves. So we need to just be careful how this plays out. And there is still that potential for as long as we stay below this 44 cent range, that we could be looking to actually complete another bigger 5-wave move to the downside. So this is something that we just need to keep an eye on. So this is just looking at it as a corrective move. If we do, however, look at this as a 5-wave move, potentially we can look for deeper corrective structure here. So, like I said, the problem is we do have a little bit of overlap in the beginning of this move. So we can also argue that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into here. And then effectively, this is the beginning of a corrective move. And then we can argue that we have a 1, 2, 1, 2 here as well. So, there's a few ways of counting this. If we do come back up here, but we actually failed to break above these highs of this 3906 and this 3957, and then finally this 4035 area. We can do something like this where we form this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 into here. This comes back up as an A, B, C, and then we look to break down, and this becomes a 1. This basically becomes another 1, 2 here, and that would tie into looking for a bigger structure to the downside. So if we continue to get rejection off of these 50% and these, 50% to 786 off this high, then we can continue to look for this progression to the downside. Only really by moving above it and taking out some of these high points here do we eliminate the potential of forming 5-wave structure to the downside. So effectively within this, what we'd be looking for is the fact that if we drop down to this 34.93 to this 34.26, we could actually look for an additional fourth and a fifth here. So I just need to change this degree because it's wrong. But basically, we'd be looking at this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially looking for this 5, which could then set us up for this 4 and this 5. But like I said, until we actually get this fifth wave to the downside, all we have here is a 3-wave move, and it could just be that this is a W, X, and a Y, and then we look to push up for that B wave, and then we look to push down for a C wave again, or alternatively, this completes into this low, and then actually now we're starting to form some bigger structure to the upside here, in which case we're going to be looking for support, and we're going to talk about that now. But if we do cross this 3774 and this 3795 area, the way we have this marked out would be invalidated, like I said, but we would have to just be careful that if we're looking for the potential of this extending down as a 1, 2, again, we wouldn't want to, we would want to be careful around this 37.45 all the way up to sort of this higher range here of this 38.94 at a real maximum, which would be that 0.854 retracement. But 786 would be normally the highest that a wave 2 would go. So if we do continue to progress up here, this would be a zone we could look to find rejection and actually look to break to the downside again. So we need to see this golden pocket area is also quite interesting here as a potential rejection zone. So we'd have to keep an eye on it. That's that 3807 to that 3794. If we do face rejection here and we start to continue to break down, it would indicate to me that we're actually going to start to form some 5-wave structure. But until we actually get the 5-wave structure come in, the fifth waves, that is, then we would have to just treat this as a 3-wave move, looking to see whether we maintain this fourth zone and break down, or whether we come up here and invalidate this area. Okay, so now we've talked about the bearish scenario where we're going to be looking for that continuation to the downside. And basically, we're going to be talking about looking at some bullish potentials here. So the way you would have to look at this, if you're looking at this potentially as looking to break to the upside is here, is you'd actually have to take this move as ending here, and then you'd have to treat this as an A, B, C. So 1, 2, and then we'd actually be looking for this third wave stalk here. We've not moved up past that 1.618 as of yet, which would come in at 37.38. So if we do start to break to the upside here and we start to get some more traction, it could be possible that we're forming a 5-wave move up here. And the way that I would be currently counting it, obviously the wave structure is quite limited at the moment, and we'd have to assume a few things. But the way I would have to count it, if that's the case, is that potentially this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then actually what we're looking to do is form a 5-wave move here as a diagonal. And the way I'd be currently looking at this is basically this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3, looking for a 4th wave and a 3-wave move, and then basically looking for a 5th like this. If this does play out, then effectively what we'd be looking for is a retracement back into this previous 4th wave area. I've got this box highlighted here, this 3670 to this 3653. Though if we do push up one more time here, effectively that would change this area. And then we would have to argue that basically it could actually come down a bit lower, which would tie in with retesting this 4th wave area. So that's something we can just keep an eye on. If we did actually come back down into the zone, we could get this 5th wave to the upside, which would then move us past that 1.618, and then we'd be looking for that further evidence of coming back into this zone again for a 4th and looking to push to the upside. So if we do actually complete a 5th wave move up into this zone, and we have looking for this 4th wave, effectively that 4th wave could find support between this 37.19 to this 36.58. So that would be roughly in the same zone as this again. So we can see how this would then potentially look to push us up into these areas. If we had to argue that we came into that 382, which is pretty much the middle of this box area, what we'd then be looking for is looking for that continuation to the upside and looking potentially for a target range of this 38.24 to this 37.91. So the key difference thing is here, if we count this like this and we do get this 5-wave move, what we'd be looking to do is basically see whether we would then get this come down as a B wave, and then we could just get an ABC, or whether this pushes up further and then we actually get an additional 5-wave move here, where we get another 2 waves to form a 5-wave structure. If we did have to get a 5-wave structure here, we'd have to take this as the beginning of another move here. And what we'd be then be looking for is that continuation to the upside. So we'd want to see a 3-wave structure come back into these zones, retest it, and then look to break to the upside. So that's what we're looking for the bullish case. I am, however, personally looking like I'm feeling it's more likely we're going to come down one more time here, at least, and then from there we're going to be having to just see whether we do get those additional 4ths and 5ths. But for as long as we hold this line here, we can potentially look for this bullish scenario. Like I said, it is possible it could be extending out. We don't have a lot of structure yet to play with. This would be the best interpretation I can give with the current structure. But if we did have to just move up much higher here and actually just go a bit more vertical, if we had to cross this 38.19, then we'd have to argue that potentially we have this as a 1, 2, 3, we'd look for a 4th and a 5th, and then that would basically just mean there was extension within these waves, in which case we would have a couple more 4s and 5s to go to the upside, and this would push this wave count much higher here. But at the moment, there's nothing indicating that. That is just something we need to keep an eye on. So that, for the most part, is what we're sort of keeping an eye on here. We want to see whether we break down. We want to see whether we hold these 4th positions, whether we find resistance in these consolidation areas, and we look to push down and break down to these lower zones. Like I said before, the zone that we'd be looking for a typical support lower down here as a wave 2 or a B wave would be this 31.47 to this 25.88. A shallower retracement would be into here, and this would be looking for that potential to form that additional 1, 2, and then look to push to the upside. Or alternatively, this is just an ABC. We come back down, we make another 3-wave move to the upside, and then we look to break down. If we actually do break down in a bigger target, though, remember we do have this possibility of still having this 5th wave to the downside, so we need to just be a bit cautious here. If this starts to get some legs to it, that would indicate to me that we are starting this 5th wave, and we would be looking for that lower low. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and why not leave us some feedback down below in the comment section. Also in the description below you will find a link to affiliate links for BYBIT and PrimeXBT, both great exchanges that we use on a regular basis. Check them out. Using the link does help support the channel, and we do appreciate it. If you need any assistance with that, like I said, jump in the Discord and we will have a chat about it. Everyone, have a great rest of the weekend. We'll see you in the next